What's up? Welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. So I know that a lot of us deal with mom guilt and it's keeping us from elevating financially. So in this video, I'm going to give you a few tips to keep yourself in check and to stop yourself from overcompensating so that we can elevate financially. I think with anything, especially when it comes to your finances, it's extremely important to understand and know yourself, because when you know yourself, then you understand why you manage money the way that you do, and all that's left is for you to just figure out a solution. So some of the most common reasons why we have mom guilt are, number one, growing up without our basic needs and desires being met. So during your childhood, if you had to go without these things, then obviously you don't want the same for your children. So in turn, you overcompensate for the things that you lacked. And let's say that your parents growing up could not afford to throw you any birthday parties. You're always going to remember how certain things made you feel. And if this was your case, then maybe you overcompensate when it comes to birthday parties because you do not want your babies to feel the same way. You don't want your kids to feel like they have to go without. You want them to have the same things that their peers have, whether you want to admit that or not. You don't want your babies to feel left out, and that is completely normal. Second reason is a lack of confidence and your ability to financially support your children comfortably. And this one seems kind of counterintuitive, but when you're having financial issues, you are more prone to overspending on your children. And part of that is because you want to make yourself feel better. You want to make yourself feel like less of a failure. And I believe that the other part of that is that you're trying to mask these financial issues from your children. You don't want them to know that you have certain struggles when it comes to taking care of them. And so you overcompensate in this area. For an example, and I've done this before, you are in a store, you maybe see a cute outfit and you pick it up and you're like, don't you want this? Don't you like this? This is your favorite color. So you tend to suggest things that the kids did not even ask for. And this is in an effort to, once again, make you feel better, to make you feel like a better mother. Now, does this mean that you're not a good mother? No, but I find that we tend to try to convince ourselves that we're not.
Ooh, I think we got a winner up there. Green light. Yellow light. We got a winner up there.
Third thing is a lack of financial support from the other parent. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but if you are the only parent financially supporting the kids, you may tend to go a little overboard, especially on holidays, and birthdays, and an effort to kind of mask the parent's absence, and of course to keep them from getting disappointed. And the fourth reason, which is one that really hurts to admit, is the fear that if we say no, that our kids would love us less. We make up these scenarios in our head and we come to these conclusions that if we say no, that the kids are going to be resentful and they are not going to love us as much. And obviously we know that that is not true, but once again, it's one of those things that as parents we convince ourselves may happen. Now, before we get to the tips when it comes to mom guilt, I think that it's extremely important for me to say that mom guilt never really goes away. Any bad habit that you have when it comes to your finances, it is not automatically cured. It is something that you will always have to manage. And this is something that I still deal with. I still deal with emotional and impulsive decisions when it comes to my spending because of mom guilt. And obviously it's not at the rate in which it once was because I have ways to manage it, but it is something that never truly goes away. You have to be consciously aware of this and on top of yourself because there is no cure. So I know that a lot of people tend to get into their winning seasons and they kind of like, backslide a little bit, 1 or 2 times, and then they're completely down on themselves. They're hard on themselves. But please remember that with anything in life, as long as you are living, you are breathing, you are flesh, you're going to make mistakes. But it is all about how you pick yourself back up that defines that mistake. Is it a mistake or is it a lesson? Now let's move into the actual tips. And the first one, we're going to get right into it. It is to be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable saying no. Yes, it hurts your mama heart to say no to your babies. We obviously want to give them the world and it provokes anxiety. But once you get into the habit of saying no, then obviously it's going to be a lot easier to stick to your guns because that discomfort has turned into something that is. But anyway, obviously it's going to be a lot easier to say no. And I want to say that don't just say no and not explain why you're saying no or why you're saying not yet. I find that when I take the time to explain my money goals and why we can't do something right there in that moment or why they can't have something in that moment, it makes it a lot easier to digest. So it's easier for me to do and it's easier for the kids to accept the word no. And kids are impulsive. They navigate the world through their emotions. We know emotions are fleeting. And if you don't nip this in the bud now, then they will grow to become impulse or emotional spenders. So the main thing you don't want for your babies, which is financial insecurity, you may wind up encouraging. Tip number 2 is to let your children be part of your financial plan. So whenever you are sitting down to do your budget, sit down with your kids and together come up with things that you want to do or things that you want to go out and purchase. Set up a budget for those things and a frequency. So this way they don't feel so out of the loop. They feel included. They feel like they have some type of control and it excites them because they have something to look forward to. So they know what they're going to be able to do and how often they're going to be able to do it. And so whenever you say no in those moments when they kind of have to practice delayed gratification, it makes it a lot easier for them to accept. And you also get your mommy fix because you can go out and do things with your babies, but you know that these things are actually fitting within your means. Fourth tip is to set up a kid's miscellaneous sinking fund. And this is more so for the parents that have smaller kids who maybe aren't at that age where they can comprehend budgeting and saving. And this is something that is going to save your sanity because sometimes you are just too exhausted to deal with the consequences of saying no. Maybe you are at the grocery store or the store. I feel like we've all been through this time in our lives where we're at the checkout line. Maybe the baby sees a bag of chips and we know the consequences of saying no to that child. The child's going to have a meltdown. You're going to get dirty looks. You're having anxiety. You're sweating. You are trying to calm them down. This is going to be the time where you can pull from these funds. It can be something as simple as $5 a paycheck you put back in a specific account or, a money envelope, but the money is there to use during these times. Save your sanity, girl, and use the money.
Where you go?
I don't know.
Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. He's up there at the top.
Now, the last tip that I have, I feel like is the most important one, and that is to heal your inner child and your wounded self. Simply knowing why you overspend is not enough, because you are going to still continue to do it. And you have to really sit back and think, what's driving you to not do better when you know better? And it is our emotions. It's our emotions that come from our experiences, which have in turn shaped our beliefs. And the way that you manage money is not through logic, it is through emotion. There's always an emotional force that is driving your financial decisions. And when those emotions are unhealthy, they're going to create unhealthy spending habits. I always say, if you can master your mind, you can master your money. You don't have to be the smartest person. You don't have to know all the financial lingo. You don't have to be, some really super smart person. You just have to master your mind. You have to master your emotions. So hopefully, ladies, this was super helpful to you guys. Leave down below any other additional tips that you may have, and I will catch you in the next one.